Hello everyone, welcome to round 9 of the Fide Candidates Tournament, and today we have Anish Giri with the white pieces versus Wang Hao with the black pieces. Now anyone following chess recently knows that Anish has been in impeccable form. I mean, he's been playing some good chess the past few months over the board as well as online, and this game, in all honesty, was a very smooth victory for Giri, in my opinion. He had the slight advantage throughout the game, which he easily converted to a win. And honestly, there was almost little to no counterplay offered by Wang Hao, and it was almost as if he was just accepting the end as it was coming to him. So, anyways, let's get into the game. The game started with pawn to d4. We have knight to f6, c4, e6, knight to f3, d5, g3. Basically, Anish plays the Catalan system. We have bishop to e7, bishop to g2, castle, castles, and d takes c4. So, just simple main line of Catalan, completely normal till now. No problems as such. We have queen c2, a6, basically preparing b5 to protect the pawn, and a4 is played by Anish. We have bishop to d7 and queen takes c4. He takes the pawn back, and now we have bishop to c6. Bishop to f4, bishop to d6, knight to c3, bishop takes f4, g takes f4, and a5. Now, if we halt here for a second, the reason why Anish let black capture bishop takes f4 is because in the Catalan, one thing you can easily exploit is white's advantage of this open file, because after king h1, rook g1, the semi-open file which white possesses is pretty strong. And for those of you who are new and wondering, well, doesn't he have double pawns here? Well, this doesn't exactly, it isn't necessarily a problem, because e3 and everything's looking good for Anish, and there's no problem at all. So he accepts it quite easily. He's not phased at all. And a5 by Wang Hao. So the idea of a5 is to come out with knight a6 and try to put black's knight on b4. It's just a good commanding outpost, although it's not in the center. An outpost is an outpost, so Wang Hao wants to make use of this. And there was actually a similar game between Levon Aronian and Wesley So, where So, instead of going for knight a6, he opted to go knight d7 and play the game, which is another alternative. But knight to a6 is not necessarily a bad move. There was also apparently a variation where you could go after e3 instead of knight to a6, which is what Wang Hao played. There was a line with bishop takes f3, and c6, where Wang Hao lets him play with bishop and knight while black plays with two knights. So it was something that I think he did not want to do, so he did not take bishop takes f3. Instead, he went for knight to a6. We have knight to e5 by Anish, bishop takes g2, king takes g2, c6, and here we have a move that neither Stockfish nor any commentator on Twitch really liked. Anish Giri played h3. Now, it seemed like Giri gave away tempo, and it was almost like a rubbish move. Just a waste of a move. But you'll see later on in the game how this move surprisingly helps Giri. Although the plan was quite, the plan in the future, which you will see, was quite a far-fetched one. It did help him, and the Stockfish and other engines were offering moves like rook to d1, instead of going pawn to h3. But that's, I think, something Giri was fine with. He didn't necessarily see anything with rook to d1, so he went ahead with h3. We had queen to b6 attacking the b2 pawn, so white's queen retreats. And now we have pawn to c5, which is a questionable move in this situation. And again, it was something that apparently Stockfish did not like, because and even the commentators, like the international masters and grandmasters, thought that c5 was a bit too quick. Like the move c5, I think Wang Hao rushed it. A better move here would be probably rook to d8 and prepare c5. Don't just blindly push it. But I think Wang Hao realized that he had to do something here. He couldn't simply just sit and wait for Giri to come rook g1, king h2, and attack. So Wang Hao's like, hey, I'm gonna do some immediate damage control here, and he pushed c5. and Giri just went rook fd1. We have c takes d4, rook takes d4, rook a d8. We have rook takes d8, queen takes d8, and rook d1. So you see, although nothing special has happened in this game, Anish Giri looks in a very commanding position. He has the open file, his knights are in good position, his pawn structure is not that shabby. Everything's looking good for Anish, but it's looking bad for Wang Hao. So now we have queen to a8 and king g1, just a precautionary move against some b5 threats. We have knight to b4. Finally, Wang Hao jumps onto the outpost. Queen to b5, knight d5, takes, rook c1, h6, queen to d7, and slowly Anish Giri is creeping up into Wang Hao's territory, and Wang Hao can do nothing about it. We have knight to f6, queen retreats, g6, which is an interesting move because I think Wang Hao's idea was to, for this to not be a threat and also have an escape route of king g7 in the future. I'm not entirely sure why this was played, but that is my understanding. We have b3, just protecting the pawn, and h5. So maybe that's why g6 was played, to allow h5 to happen, and it happened. And now we have king to h2. So you realize the reason why h3 works here is because, heck, if he had gone king to g2, something like b5 or b6 is always a threat. Although it doesn't do anything, drastically bad for Anish. Just this move h3 has helped him. A safe square for the king, safe from any weird attacks in the future, and he's living life. And now we have king to g7. Wang Hao is feeling a bit unsafe with with the position of the king. We have queen to d4, creating an X-ray pin. With the threat of knight d7 next, maybe. And if queen to d8, then possibly rook to d1. So we have rook to d8 played by Wang Hao. He's like, I'm not going to allow you to play knight d7. And we have queen b2 retreating. Queen to b8, b4, takes rook c4. He doesn't immediately take it because he can, double up his pieces. We have b3, rook b4, still doesn't take it. Queen to a7. Rook b3, queen takes a4, and after rook takes b7, this was a position where Wang Hao was in serious trouble. He needed to do something. Once you move your rook to b7, it's just 7th rank, attacking f7. Things aren't looking that good. So queen to e8 was the only alternative he had. He was willing to go for this endgame after takes. He could have moved rook to f8 as well, but I think rook to f8 is somewhat not the best move because of obvious reasons of knight d7. Sorry, I completely had a brain lapse of why rook d8 was there. So rook f8 doesn't work, and queen e8 was the only move. We have rook to a7, rook to d5, and after queen b7, in this position it's almost losing. Wang Hao just played a good for nothing move, and after knight takes f7, Wang Hao decided to resign. Rightfully so, because you're gonna lose. Knight d6 is a threat, knight g5, literally any knight move here is dangerous for Wang Hao. So you see how just from, again, simple moves and just a slight advantage in the game, Anish Giri was so almost effortlessly able to defeat Wang Hao. And these are super grandmasters we're talking about. This is not your average New York City Times Square heckler chess positions or chess games. So it just goes to show that grandmaster games can either be quite straightforward or they can be very complex, like how we saw yesterday's game with Fabiano and Maxime. This was quite literally the opposite. It was very straightforward, simple. The plan was quite easy to be followed, and it's something that even you and I could play. So just a very good commanding victory for Anish. It increases his chances to win the championship and challenge Magnus Carlsen. So I wish him the best. Although I am rooting for Caruana, I wouldn't mind Anish Giri winning this as well. So yeah, if you guys enjoyed the video, make sure you hit the like button, subscribe and share, and comment down below if you have any suggestions. And I'll be closely monitoring this tournament, so expect more from me. And I'll see you all in the next one. Bye.